Hey guys, welcome to another episode of The Worst Thing I Ever Done. Today we got four stories to pull from. After each story, I'll give a brief commentary of what I think and then we'll move on to the next story. Enjoy, sit back, and relax. Our first story was posted by Ryan Destroy. He says, at one point in my life, I worked as a lifeguard for a children's water park. We had a body slide that ends with a long straight runway for slowing down. Protocol dictated that when I see the customer comes to a stop, I put my arm out to the runway and point out to the left, encourage them to exit from that side. I begin to walk towards them at this point to prevent them from walking/running on the slide. This works 99% of the time, except this time. I see a young girl, probably 7 to 8 years old. She is sliding down and reaches the end. So I do my usual arm out, point, whistle, walk. I see her beginning to step over to the correct side, so I put my arm down. She decides to suddenly sprint down the runway, and my arm instinctively goes back out at just the right height and speed to land a perfect clothesline, and thus dropping her instantly. Somehow, on a busy summer day in a children's water park with parents everywhere, no one saw. I helped her up and asked if she was okay, and she said yeah, and ran off. Too long to read, clotheslined a little girl, and earned the title of undefeated lightweight champion. Well, I'm glad he can find humor in now. Not much to say about this is that, unfortunate accident happens, and it's not too bad, Ryan. Moving on to our second story from Why Do I Do Things? It baffles me to this day, why did I do what I'm about to tell you? I'm not really a person that values objects that much. I'm frugal and hate spending money, especially on objects that I don't really need, like new electronics. I have an old phone, an old laptop that can't even run Minecraft without eventually freezing. In a secluded university computer lab, late at night in the summer, I noticed an iPod had been left at one of the computers. I stole it. It was the first personal item I ever stolen from a person in my entire life. I don't like the idea of stealing. I don't really listen to music. And I knew it was going to ruin this person's day. But I did it anyway without a thought. The headphones were nice too. But I didn't really care about the headphones, so I disconnected those and left them there. Maybe the owner was glad to at least have those. Maybe I pissed him off more because there was no doubt in his mind that the iPod was stolen. It was a nice 160 gig iPod. I hardly ever listened to music. I must have put 1 or 2 gigs of music on there. Max. Used it for a few months when I was working out. Eventually, it was stolen from me at the gym. Didn't even faze me. Just nodded and accepted that it was part of something a pathetic circle of a low-life humans that don't respect the concept of personal properties. It's kind of funny reading this that was posted 9 years ago. In case you're younger and didn't know, there was these things called iPods back then, before the iPhone came out, and it was the first generation device where you could listen to music that was shaped like a phone. These were very expensive and very well sought after. So it's kind of like Apple before Apple became huge back then. So I understand why these things get stolen all the time. Yeah, it's kind of funny. Says at least he left the headphones behind. Why did he leave the headphones behind? I mean, if there were nice headphones, if he was going to steal them, might as well steal the whole thing. Why would leaving nice headphones behind make the person who got stolen from feel any better? But this is like a good case of karma. You get what you deserve. But the thing is, he should have got a worse outcome for just doing something bad in the first place. Alright guys, let's move on to our next story. The third story of today is a short one by Bonehead. I was climbing a tree with my friend when we were in first grade. I was the better tree climber as he was sort of an inside all the time kind of kid. For some reason, I thought it would be awesome to pee from the top of the tree. While peeing, I thought it would be awesome to pee on him, so I did. Oh man, this is definitely one of those cases you definitely regret it the older you get and realize how stupid your cool idea is when you're a kid. Not much to say about this. Alright, let's move on to our final story today, the fourth one. When I was a senior in high school, I was asked by a girl to the senior prom. I didn't know her, but I was told she had a crush on me and decided to be brave and ask me. She was very nice, very sweet, but not especially attractive and a bit heavy. She told me she'd buy the tickets, we could go to Dutch dinner, etc., but she thought we'd have a good time. We talked once or twice, and I figured I'm single again, so why not? One day before the prom, I got asked by my best friend to go on a skiing weekend with his family, the weekend of prom. His older brother couldn't get back in college in time, so they wanted me to go with them instead. Free skiing for 3 days, free cabin, and I get to hang out with my best friend and his family? Without thinking, I said, sure, and promptly called the girl and told her change of plans. Sorry, but I was going skiing instead. I told my mom what happened, and I thought for a moment that my mom was going to kill me. She destroyed me. Just flayed the emotional skin off me for a good hour, and then told me exactly what I was going to do, which included driving down to the girl's house and grovel for hurting her feelings. I've always been ashamed of that incident, but it did make a lasting mark on me. I never ever feel that shame again, and I think I learned to be a better person afterwards. There's an update to the story. I was asked a few times by folks if I went on a date or I went skiing. I went on the date. I arrived at her house and was met by her father, who told me in no uncertain terms that he was aware of what I've done and I was lucky he wasn't beating me right there on his doorstep. Her older sister told me flat out that I was a complete piece of shit for the way I made her sister cry. Then, when my date came down, I said I was happy to pay for dinner and everything during the night. But she looked at me coolly and said, I think it's best we don't owe each other anything. So we went to dinner, had an entirely awkward time, and then at the dance, she went to talk to some friends after only dancing once with me. One of her friends came back to me and told me that they were bringing her to a party and I could go. So I went out to my usual hangout at the park in the mountains above my parents' house and drank a fifth of horrible whiskey until I didn't feel like the biggest piece of shit ever. So I can definitely see it from all sides from here. I mean, as a young guy, going on a date with a girl you don't really know, not attracted to, and then you say yes and your buddy calls you up and it sounds like a great time and you instinctively say yes, and then you didn't realize that you're destroying another person's feelings completely. And, you had to bear the brunt of that rough night, but you learned a good lesson, became a better person out of it, and I'm so glad that the mom taught him the lesson. I don't think he would have realized what he'd done if the mom didn't step in and told him how he just emotionally wrecked that girl. And I do have a confession to make. I actually was asked by a girl to go somewhere, and I didn't want to go with her. I wanted to go with a different girl to I think a homecoming. But I knew another guy really liked her. So I said, hey, if I don't have the money, so I can't go with you. You have to pay for everything, which is something you shouldn't ever say when being asked by someone like that. And I said, how about you go with this other guy? I think you have a great time with him. And she got mad at me and walked away. My friends at the table who were there that saw this exchange happen, they wailed at me. It's like, dude, you are the biggest jerk in the world. You can't ever say that and reject a girl who's interested in taking you to a formal. But it ended up, I didn't go because, I was serious. I didn't have money to go. But she went with the guy I suggested, and they actually had a wonderful time with each other. So all in all, it went pretty well. He got to go with a girl that he really liked, and she had a good time. So, these situations are always weird, especially in high school and hormones everywhere. But anyways, if you stuck to the end, let me know in the comment section. Hey, I made it to the end. I appreciate it for sticking to the end and hitting that like button. I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye.